My name is Marta, and in this Red Gaming Tech video, I'm here with the latest from the gaming world. Yes, you heard right, gaming world. As Paul will be with you later on with a tech news. But what do I have for you in the meantime? Well, I'm going to kick things off with the Dutch Gaming Authority, who have called out various games over their loot boxes, and apparently they're in violation of the Better Gaming Act. Then we're going to move on to Crow Team, who have announced Serious Sam 4 Planet Badass. And then we have an interesting report regarding Battlefield 5. But as I said, we're going to kick things off with the Dutch Gaming Authority and the Better Gaming Act. So essentially what has happened here is the country's gaming commission has been investigated in the Netherlands. And this is according to a public news agency by the name of NOS. I'm going to include the source article in the description below this video, but obviously if you want to read it, you are going to have to get your translation on. But essentially, they have given 4 of the 10 games investigated 8 weeks to make some changes so that they actually comply with the Better Gaming Act, and if they don't, basically they're going to impose fines or prohibit these games from being sold in the Netherlands. Now you might say, okay, what was the issue? And basically these 4 games featured quote elements that in them that could also be found in the gambling world. So you might say, okay, what does that even mean? And if each of the games that they're calling out featured paid loot boxes containing items which could be traded, giving the trader value, and also trading items provided the player with earning money should they get a rare item from the loot box. Now, I do have a bit of a statement here from Marja Appelman, the director of the Gaming Authority. He said, quote, "They are designed as gambling games are designed, with the feeling that you have almost won. There are all sorts of sound effects and visual effects when you open such a loot box, so you have a tendency to play through and through. I call on all game companies not to make loot boxes accessible to children anymore and to remove addictive elements." Now, just to be clear, they are not banning loot boxes. They are just being very, very critical of them outside of those 4 cases. As you just heard from Marja there, they're not best pleased with how, even though you might not actually win a real thing, but, you know, a stuffed teddy bear or a stick of gum, it still sets off that same response in your brain that you get from putting a pound in the slot machine or whatever. Now, so for 6 of these 10 games, they've got not really much to worry about as they are in compliance with gambling laws. But again, the Gaming Authority, was still critical over these and did liken loot boxes to the use of roulette and slot machines, which I would say is more than valid. And my opinion on this is well documented at this point. Now, unfortunately, they didn't mention the titles by name, but if these games do not make the changes they have asked for, each of them will be announced to the public. They did announce that they tested some games. They said some of the games that have been tested, but they haven't said which games they're actually addressing here with these demands. So they tested Dota 2, FIFA 18, PUBG and Rocket League. Now, the Gaming Authority themselves did conduct a study and did find that loot boxes cause young people to start gambling sooner, and obviously comes with a higher risk of addiction. And there was also an interesting study cited by the NOS, which was conducted by Juniper Research, and they basically concluded in that research paper that loot boxes and skins gambling will reach a total spend of $50 billion by 2022, which is insane. So obviously this is just an addition to the growing list of countries which are upset with loot boxes. And to be honest, good. You know, we've seen fines being handed out to people in South Korea. We have seen the Swedish government investigating whether or not loot boxes should be considered gambling. Obviously, we've had various bills introduced in Hawaii. We have statements from our very own UK Gambling Commission and obviously the ESRB. And while the response from the US and the UK has been a bit disappointing, as I've already discussed, I'm glad that this has been taken seriously, because I don't think it should be banned exactly, but I do think, for example, that people should be made aware, like perhaps parents and that sort of thing, because these loot boxes are in games that kids are playing. Whether or not that kids should be playing those games is a topic for another day, because, well, they shouldn't be if they're actually following that age rating. But how many times have you, as someone who worked behind the till at a place that sells games, tried to tell someone, hey, GTA 5 is not appropriate for little Timmy, and then the parents are like, yeah, it's fine. But outside of making people aware, I also think that people should be told honestly about the odds of receiving, you know, rare, ultimate, whatever it happens to be, loot from the loot boxes, because at least then you can argue, okay, they're not being misled. And obviously, if they could play less off the same gambling response in your brain with like how the loot box explodes in confetti and all this other stuff, then yeah, obviously there is some pulling back, I think, that needs to happen here, because it's making an insane amount of money. So loot boxes are clearly not going anywhere. They're not going to be banned or anything. I think that's not a reasonable expectation, but I do think they do need to be pulled back a little bit. You know, dial it back, son, dial it back. Anyway, let's move on. But let me know your thoughts on this one, because I'm curious as to your opinions. So let's move on, as I said, to protein. So this is a fairly short and sweet one, but pretty awesome news, I've got to say, as Serious Sam 4 Planet Badass has been officially announced by Croteam. And they announced this during the Reboot Develop 2018 keynote. Now, unfortunately, details were very thin on the ground. There was a new teaser trailer shown of the main character on a motorbike, and then we saw the, shall we say, rather infamous exploding enemies charging at him in the distance, and just looked very, very Serious Sam in the trailer. But other than that, we don't know anything. It's just a thing that exists. Hopefully it comes out this year, because what is even more tantalising, I've got to say, is Croteam are going to be announcing more at the Devolver Digital E3 2018 conference. Now, for those of you who watched Devolver's conference last year, you know why that just excites me on a base level, because if any of you haven't seen Devolver's conference from E3 last year, you need to watch it. It's so good. It's so good. So I'm curious to see how Serious Sam is going to improve their conference this year, because they've made a name for themselves now. They got up themselves, so I'm definitely curious to see what's going to be happening there. But I'm also just happy that another Serious Sam's coming out, because Serious Sam 3 was a ton of fun. Love me some Serious Sam. So let's move on from the confirmed to the unconfirmed, as there is a report about Battlefield 5 having a Battle Royale mode. Now, as my tone kind of implied in the introduction there, this is unconfirmed. It is a rumour at the moment based on a report from VentureBeat. So I will include their article in the description below this video, but I'm basically going to give you the cliff notes. They have an unnamed source, who obviously is unnamed, kind of says it in the name there, who have basically said that DICE is testing a Battle Royale mode for Battlefield 5 that unsurprisingly will have similar gameplay to the two heavyweights in this particular genre, Fortnite and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Now, there have been earlier reports, as if you've been keeping your ears to the ground, that DICE is preparing the game for launch later this year. But apparently, they're still hard at work trying to squeeze in a prototype that could compete with PUBG and Fortnite. Now, this would not surprise me in the least. Now, Battlefield, I think more people, just judging from, like, you know, completely anecdotal data, so, you know, do not take this as like a concrete, yes, this is 100% the truth statement or anything, but I'd say a lot of people play the Battlefield single player more than they play, say, the Call of Duty single player, but I'd still say a lot of people go straight for the multiplayer. So this would fit, I would say, pretty damn well for Battlefield 5, to be honest, because just be another mode, a separate mode to, like, you know, deathmatch or whatever, basically. And I think it would actually fit pretty damn well, as I already said. But the main reason I would not be surprised by this at all is, well, PUBG and Fortnite are basically printing money for their respective owners, so it wouldn't exactly be outside of EA's remit to lean forward and be like, I heard the rustle of many, many dollars, therefore I am interested. In all seriously though, like, Battle Royale is the thing right now, and if EA and DICE obviously were able to produce a good mode within Battlefield 5 that has a good Battle Royale mode, that is actually at least comparable to the two competitors, then yeah, I could see it shifting, maybe some more copies to do with that. I mean, maybe they could be enticed to release that mode by itself, that sort of thing. The potential is definitely there. Obviously, even if this report is true, and they are working on a prototype, doesn't necessarily mean it'll ever see the light of day in the full game. It could get worked on. The team go, you know what, we don't have the time for this, or no, we can't do this for whatever reason. Or it'll like later on, a couple of months down the line after the game comes out, it'll come out because it needed a bit more time to, you know, polish it, that sort of stuff. And it could be, of course, that it does come out at launch, or it just never comes out at all, as I already said. So let me know your thoughts, guys. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised by this at all, because everyone's trying to get on the Battle Royale gravy train right now, and to be fair, I can't really blame them when it's filled several Scrooge McDuck-sized swimming pools for people, so, you know, Anyway, as I said, let me know your thoughts. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.